summer is on the way, so what better time to talk holiday lets? And joining me on this call is Helen Winter of Coral Interiors. And Helen and I met on a podcast which we were both involved with for Sykes Cottages, which was documenting the entire holiday let journey. And I was so impressed with Helen's knowledge and the fact that she does vegan holiday lets, which we're going to talk about in a bit, that I invited her along for a chat. So Helen, lovely to see you. And first of all, I think a good place to start would be tell us a little bit about your business.
Okay, well, thanks, Vanessa, for inviting me on. So my business is Coral Interiors. I'm based in Bournemouth on the South Coast. I specialise in mostly residential, but specialise really in holiday cottages and luxury Airbnbs in Dorset and Hampshire. So I'm kind of quite well aware of the best ways to kind of maximise your bookings and your nightly rate, etc., through good design and good sort of speccing out of your holiday cottage.
Well, I think you'll agree, Helen, that good design and high specification has really come into its own in the last few years. This was something that we discussed on the Sykes Cottages podcast, because expectations from consumers, guests, has really risen in the last few years, and the market is actually demanding a really high quality product, isn't it?
Definitely. People are much more sort of well-travelled. They're on Pinterest or on Instagram. They're seeing what's out there. They're seeing the trends, and they want to stay somewhere that's really a bit special, that they can, it's aspirational, that's memorable, that they want to tell all their friends about. They don't just want to kind of stay in a sort of bland, featureless, safe and boring place anymore. They want to have the whole experience. Especially in the UK, it's not like you're going somewhere like Florida where you're guaranteed great weather. You have to kind of think, well, they might be stuck indoors a little bit more. They might be a little bit more at a loose end. So what can you do to kind of make it a nice place for them to be at all times, really? Not just somewhere to crash, at the end of the day kind of thing.
Yeah, because we must remember as holiday let owners that people have been looking forward to their holidays all year. For some people, it's like such an important thing for them in their calendar. And I'm kind of thinking that people almost are expecting something better than their own home these days, more along the lines of a kind of boutique hotel. Is that what you're seeing?
Exactly, yes. I think people need to actually put themselves in the mindset of being a sort of boutique hotelier. Actually, that's what I do advise people. Is you're competing against the local 4 or 5 star hotel, depending on what end of the market you're at, obviously. But if you're, going for a luxury cottage, which is going to rent for a few £1,000s a week in high season, and someone in their family has had to gather everyone together and agree that this is the place they're going to spend their hard-earned time and money, then you don't want to be the person that chose it and then everyone goes, oh, what did you pick this for? You want to be proud of it and think, oh, great, we can just come back here again next year. So, and you do that through making your guests feel special and making them feel welcome, and just literally think, well, what would a boutique hotel do? But think of the places you've stayed that have been amazing. You have crisp white cotton sheets. You don't have patterned duvets that have faded over time. You don't have, hand-me-down furniture from the 90s, MFI or whatever. It's about being well considered, luxurious. Obviously, you do have to factor in, your investment, but it's not a case of, design is one of those kind of amorphous kind of things. It's you can't give a clear return on investment, but by spending a little bit more, you're going to just make people subconsciously know that they're treasured guests, and you really are making an effort for them. If you just buy the cheapest of everything, and then you've got a beautiful house in a lovely location, they're just going to really sense that actually they've been a little bit robbed, perhaps, or that it's not as good as it could be.
Indeed. And we know how important photographs are in attracting bookings, so showing designer interiors can greatly increase your occupancy. Getting good reviews, getting repeat clientele, these are all the things that a successful holiday let needs to get traction in the marketplace.
Yeah, I think it's really worth thinking about where you do need to spend or invest. And I think mattresses and beds, and just think about comfort. You can't please everyone with mattresses. It's just impossible. If someone's got a bad back, or people are different weights and that kind of thing, with different preferences. But when you do your research, just do not ever just go for the cheapest of anything, because people are going to feel uncomfortable. They're not going to really enjoy the experience. They may not get a good night's sleep. Make sure you have blackout blinds as an absolute minimum, or blackout curtains. And don't let things get kind of worn out and ragged and broken and chipped. Keep a really high level of maintenance going as well once you're in operation. And I think what you're going back to what you were saying about the reviews, if you can get those first 5 to 10 reviews absolutely amazing, then you're kind of on a really good track. But if you start off with a couple of wobbles early on, it's going to be hard to kind of come back from that. And similarly, if people get an initial kind of wow factor as soon as they walk in the door, then you set off into a really good start. Again, it's hard to come back from a bit of a lackluster kind of, the door's got a horrible squeak and it doesn't shut properly, and this, everything feels a bit shabby as soon as they come in. Even if you then improve it in other rooms, it's that first impression is everything. So, literally feel like you're rolling out the red carpet, not literally roll out the red carpet, but make people feel special, that it's obviously scrupulously clean is a priority, amazing Wi-Fi, all those things are easy to control. But then also it's also about adding a bit of flair, adding luxury and comfort to your cottage or holiday let, and just making people feel really pampered, and they don't want to go home. Like, this is better than their own home.
Well, that is certainly the measure of a good holiday, that you don't want to go home. And I agree 100% with everything you've said there, Helen. And one of the things that we were discussing on the Sykes Cottages podcast was that we all of the panelists felt that we were entering this golden era of UK holiday lets, because obviously there's travel restrictions in place. People may not want to be going through busy airports into busy public spaces like hotels. Holiday let is like your own self-isolation pod right there. But we've heard today, actually, in Your Money magazine, that it's going to be a summer of fun for Brits, and that they're going to splurge billions of pounds this summer. And one of the top things that they're going to splurge on is staycations. So it's looking good for holiday let owners for the foreseeable future, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, it's huge at the moment. Yes, we don't have the foreign visitors, but the UK market, as you're saying, all the staycationers, all the people that can't travel abroad, it's going to be absolutely huge. So kind of what I'm suggesting to some of my clients, if they're already on the market and they already have bookings, just think about doing a light touch update. Can you just add a few more little elements, bit of styling, so that you can get some new photos and just do a little bit of a relaunch. Don't spend loads of money, because this season you're going to basically cash in, hopefully, depending on where you are in the country and all those kind of factors as well. But then think about, what can you do next season? If things change again, or we go into another quiet period, or dread to think another lockdown, what can you be thinking about doing? Has there been any feedback? Have there been any guests suggesting things that you could perhaps plan to implement when it gets quieter again next year? So I would say don't have any time off the market. Just make hay while the sun shines this year, effectively. But then just always be thinking about what can you add or improve upon, and start factoring that into your budgeting, I would suggest, for next year, or whichever happens after the high season.
Yeah, very good advice. Helen, in your work, you are doing bespoke interiors for holiday lets, which I think must be such a lovely job. I'm quite envious of you. You see trends, you see what works, what doesn't. What are you seeing at the moment?
Trend-wise, we're going back to a very naturalistic kind of vibe at the moment. So rattan is huge. We're going back to kind of the beiges and the creams, which are not ideal colours for a holiday let generally. But what can you do to accessorize? So you could just change a lampshade, or add a table lamp which has a nod to a trend, but you don't have to necessarily change everything in the room. You might want to change a rug to something, like jutes is a really big trend at the moment. So maybe if you've got quite a bright, man-made type rug, you might think, if it works with the scheme, if you've got kind of soft, kind of tonal blues and greens kind of scheme, changing a rug to something more textured and naturalistic, that could just bring the changes a little bit. I always think the bathrooms and kitchens keep the kitchen and the units and everything quite simple, but then you can also have fun with the tiles, and you can just go a little bit wilder than you might perhaps in your own home. What we also are really doing quite a bit is thinking about people sort of taking family photos or selfies and stuff. So think about the backdrops in your house. So we're installing a mural at the moment in a property in Bournemouth. Obviously we're coastal, so it's a lovely kind of sand dune type mural, and it's not a tacky one. It's a beautiful image. It's very sort of washed out and trendy and that. We're having a little neon sign in the corner. So we're just kind of creating a little bit of a vibe that people think, oh, I wouldn't have this in my own home, but this is a bit fun for a week holiday or whatever. And then if you've got a kind of an Instagram or a website, whatever, you can start having people tagging your property on Instagram, or Facebook or whatever. So by creating a space for people to show they're having a great time at your property and show how cool it looks, then you have to just think about those focal points or the sort of talking points. And obviously your garden is a huge part of that as well, but I'm focusing more on the interiors at the moment. So I would say every room needs a focal point and some interesting decor. Go a little bit bigger than you would as well. People often have rugs that are a bit too small, or artwork's a bit too small and a bit too high on the wall. So there are kind of rules that you can follow with interior design that just make it look a bit more well considered, perhaps. Hire a stylist, or interior designer, and just get some tweaks done for this season. And yeah, photography is everything. Good photographer is so worth it.
Yeah, absolutely, 100%. What's your view about, creating more of a luxury holiday let? We hear of things of like hot tubs, snooker tables, games rooms. As somebody that might rent a holiday let myself, I love a wood burning stove for the winter. That really attracts me in. I heard a wonderful suggestion from somebody with a coastal holiday let that they're going to buy a beach hut to go with it, which I think is an absolutely genius idea.
One of my clients did that actually. Yeah, really makes sense.
Do you think these little things? Obviously they're likely to increase your occupancy, but will they massively increase your price? Because my kind of experience is that holiday lets, can be quite sensitive pricing wise, and there's a range of maybe 10 or 15% extra you could get by having these extra things, possibly more for a beach hut because it's so unique. What's your view on that, Helen?
I think it goes back to what Rachel from Sykes was saying a little bit, is think about those things which people can actually search on. So hot tubs, for example, people will actively look for a property with a hot tub. They'll look for a dog-friendly property. I did a holiday cottage. It was a bit more inland, and it was a great place for going out for walks. And what we had installed in the garden, it was a really big garden. It was great for children. It was all enclosed. It already had a sort of outbuilding, which we turned into a games room. Then we also had a barbecue hut installed, which is basically a really cute little structure where you have a load of seats around the outside, some little windows, and then in the middle you've got a barbecue. And that's a great all year round feature. People can sit there in the winter, they've just gone for a walk and they want to get warm and cook some food outside even. It's literally all year round.
That's a cracking.
Yes, it's quite an investment, but then you're going to have that for 10, 15 years, and it does really just make it memorable. And if you've got somewhere which is maybe not a fantastic beachfront location, you might want to think, okay, well, we can balance that out by adding something else which other properties around don't have. So definitely research your competitors, look at what other people are doing and how you can go a little bit further. But yeah, of course, you do have to factor in the return on investment and the potential nightly rate. So it's worth getting advice from your holiday let or cottage company if they're going to be managing it for you. Find out what they think before you invest in your money, I would suggest.
Yeah, because the agencies really, really know the area, and they know the ceiling price, and they know what the competition is. So they're actually a very good resource. Exactly. And at Property Tribes, we do have Sykes Cottages as a partner, and anybody watching this can actually download a guide to starting holiday let from Property Tribes provided for our community by Sykes. So that's a good place to start. But Helen, we talk about marketing holiday lets, that how important that USP is, that unique selling point. And we've touched on a few of them, but what I was really interested in was that you actually are now working on vegan holiday lets. Now, this appeals to me as a vegetarian and moving towards veganism. Tell us a little bit about that. How did you come up with the idea, and how are they going down in the marketplace?
So I've been a vegan myself for about 5 years, and I was looking at how I can bring that into not just the food I eat, but how I actually live my life every day. And clearly, I didn't want to be specifying leather sofas. Once I knew what was actually involved with a leather sofa, and that, you know, some horrible things came to light. I did a course in vegan interior design, and then I was, you know, once I put that out there, that's what I was offering, and I was trained in it. So people will come to me and say, "Oh, that's great. You know, we're actually vegans ourselves. We're looking to, you know, renovate. We need some guidance. You know, we're not really sure. We don't want to make a mistake. We don't want to do the wrong thing." And the vegan market is just huge at the moment. There were 600,000 people signed up for Veganuary this last year gone. And it's just a booming market. So there's Facebook groups I'm in that specialize in holiday lets for vegans. So, and the thing is, you're not going to alienate anyone. No one's going to not book there because it's vegan. It's not causing any problems if you're not a vegan, but it's people who are actively looking for somewhere vegan. They're going to be all over that. So it's a growing market. It's a great niche to have. And like you say, it's a USP that's very easily marketable as well. So if you say you're in a bigger town and there's not much you can really differentiate yourself, your property with, why not look into that? Very straightforward.
Oh, I think it's wonderful. I think it's fantastic. So as we just close this out, you know, we've got lots of people looking at holiday lettings. Standard occupancy buy to let has become less attractive in the last 5 years or so. People can see that the holiday lets market is booming. Coastal property appreciation is really very significant at the moment. I read somewhere yesterday that coastal properties have gone up roughly 12% over the last year. So there's lots of really positive things about becoming, you know, a holiday letter. What would be your kind of top 3 tips for somebody, you know, just starting out on their holiday let journey?
I would say definitely take advice from your lettings company. You know, if they can recommend someone to help you with the design, if you're not creative or you don't have time, you know, it's worth getting someone in like myself or a stylist who can just, you know, give you some guidance or do the design for you, implement it for you. But otherwise, just do your research. Look at what the trends are. Go on Instagram, go on Pinterest, look on Airbnb at the top properties, you know, the special ones on there, and the luxury holiday cottages, and just look at what people are doing, and just sort of take your cues from that. I think I'd keep a really simple color palette. Make sure you just keep sort of 3 to 4 colors throughout the property. Don't have, you know, just a range of random colors that don't really flow. Create some flow in the house. Invest in furniture that you're going to sleep on or sit on. Invest in that. Make it really comfortable, long lasting, durable. Look at durable fabrics. So people think, oh, leather's great, just wipe it clean, but it really isn't. You know, if you spill oil or ketchup or something on leather, it's not coming out. Yet there are loads of fabrics which you could spill a glass of red wine on and you just blot straight off. So look at those kind of family friendly fabrics for your sofas and your chairs. And then things like, you know, bring in a few antiques or vintage furniture as well. Don't just buy everything new. Don't have everything totally matching. Just mix things up a little bit. Be a little bit more adventurous with the decor. Take some chances. Make it memorable. Even if you have a little bit of a Marmite kind of reaction where some people love it and some people don't, at least people are talking about it. And I think that's a big thing with marketing and creating a USP. The people that love it will book it, and the people that don't love it won't. But you're just going to stand out is the main thing I would suggest, really.
Very, very good tips. We had a little story which I told on the podcast, actually, that a friend of ours who we hadn't spoken to for quite a while ended up in one of our holiday lets, and he phoned us from there and said, oh, I'm in this holiday let and it's owned by you guys. And we said, oh, that's interesting. How did you end up there? And he told us something really interesting. He said, I put the destination into Google, but instead of pressing all, it's, you know, destination holiday let, I pressed images, and he said, your property really jumped out at me. So
Wow.
I think that, goes back to what we were saying about the importance of photographs, and also to include the exterior of the property. It might be quite quirky, and also the views, if it's got them, and also the local area, if there's a fantastic beach, or walking in the local area. So definitely, I think you would agree, Helen, to include as much as possible in the description and also the photographs.
Yeah, and create a bit of a lifestyle as well. The professional photographers, they will spend, I mean, I've worked with them, and they'll spend all day sometimes, or videographers, they'll buy a load of food in, they'll dress it all, they'll present it, and create beautiful images. And you think, wow, you could just go there and, live the high life for a week, because it's showing, people, drinking lovely champagne, or sitting out in the garden, with a platter of lovely food, or the barbecue, or whatever. So yeah, creating a lifestyle, show off obviously the main positives of your properties, the views and everything, but also those little touches as well. So if you've got lovely big plump pillows, and just do a little close-up shot as well, so just lead people in a little bit more. It's not an estate agent's kind of photography, it's a little bit different. So just look into that a little bit more.
Well, fantastic advice, Helen. Thank you very much for joining me on this call. And I do hope that if anybody has any questions on Property Tribes about anything that we've talked about, that you could maybe join in the discussion and just answer any of them. And I'll put contact details underneath the video for you, should anybody be interested in finding out more about your service.
Thank you, Vanessa.
But for now, you can see Helen and myself on the, it's here, Helen and myself on the Sykes Cottages podcast, which we were both guests on, and there are 4 of them, and they're going to be released very soon, and we will be promoting them on Property Tribes, so watch out for those. But for now, all that remains is for me to say thank you very much for joining me, Helen, and I think the future is so bright for holiday lets that we're going to have to wear shades.
Thanks, Vanessa. Bye for now.